What's good, anime enthusiasts? We have another fantastic episode of Shiboyugi for us to look over. Now, with this episode, we actually get to compare some differences that happen in episode 1. I mean, of course, it's half of episode 1, but it's more pertaining to the characters that we meet in this particular death game and what Yuki actually can go through and what can we expect out of other characters seemingly as we go on. And of course, these power struggles, these interactions between veterans of the game and the clashing of ideals and strengths for that matter. Also, I figured out that the whole beginning section with the highway that I was reviewing, it was actually like the beginning of the OP, or it was not the beginning of the OP. It was the OP. Yeah, there's no like big visuals and whatnot. It's just that simple highway, seeing cars going by. You hear a little contemporary classical music that's happening, and that's about it. And it goes straight into the episode. That's really it. That's the OP. And at the end of this, you actually get the actual ending theme and song, which is pretty chill and neat on its own. But this episode really helps us understand where Yuki came from, where she started from, to be exact. So getting into it, instead of the inky space before the entire episode properly begins, instead of saying hello, we actually get good night for whatever reason that happens. Then we get the first actual scene. Yuki wakes up in this abandoned looking place, not a mansion, more on the outside or maybe on the inside, but everything above there is like destroyed. There's grass is still growing, there's empty milk crates, and then there's a bag. And Yuki gets up, she goes through the bag, and what she pulls out is a book or some kind of brown beige rectangular object, rope, and a piece of paper. And we study this piece of paper intently for several seconds as she looks it over, scratches it, sniffs it, but from what we see as an audience, we don't see anything on the paper. So you could probably assume that's either blank or there's maybe something on it, but Yuki isn't like commenting on it. And also, one environmental thing that I just did not say was the red light time that's on one of the walls, because the next scene we see a camera, and that camera is actually projecting the time on the walls. Now, the characters don't notice this time, nor do they even notice the red light. But remember that this is a death game, and in the first episode, it was said that people actually watch this death game. So these security cameras actually give the audience in the universe the feed. So when we see the time, we can say, oh, this room is being monitored, or this area is actually being monitored. And of course, as the audience in us watching the anime in real life, we can see that there is a countdown timer until the game ends and all the characters automatically fail. Possibly. We don't know. Nothing's really said about it. But that's like a nice environmental storytelling that's being said. I just really adore it. But getting into it, Yuki stops in front of this board that's like a abstract map and explanation of what's going on. She's on the 5th floor and she needs to get down to the 1st floor where the goal is. And there's another section where there's these animal stickers in 6 different places. And they're probably theorizing that's where the other girls are. And Yuki attempts to like say a proverb starting with God in heaven, but she can't finish it because she doesn't remember for some reason or another. But Yuki does move to another room and she finds a princess-haired girl. She's got drills like a noble, and she's sleeping on the ground. Yuki kneels down, try to check her out, but the sleeping girl just springs up like a sleeper agent and puts her whole hand to Yuki's throat, saying, "Who are you?" And Yuki just raised her hands like, I'm Yuki, nice to meet you. I was like, dang, all right, we got an assassin on our hands. And then we seen three other girls waking up, and we all reconvene into one singular room. And before we properly begin, the princess girl makes mention that there was one more room, but no one was in it. So we have five girls, but possibly the sixth girl is somewhere else in the building or the area, and they'll figure it out as long as they keep playing. So we introduce ourselves, but it looks like the four other girls already know each other as they played several games before. This is more for Yuki's sake, for everyone to learn Yuki. So Yuki introduces herself, and this is her 10th game. She took a break, but claims to be pretty useful. Now, we'll pause right here and say that in the previous episode, there was a bunch of lines that said 28 Ghost House. That means that episode 1 was the 28th death game, as Yuki did say in the episode, and that was present day, at least for us in this instant. This episode 2 now is in the past. This is number 10, Scrap Building. Scrap Building is set later, but this is the actual 10th game that Yuki is going through. So this is well before Yuki met all the other new girls in their first game. And then the princess presses Yuki for more information, asking, okay, well, what are your skills? What else can you do? And Yuki goes, I'm pretty confident in my ability to find traps. I got some decent combat skills, but not so good in the knowledge department. I didn't go to school. And they're pretty content with that. And the other girls now introduce themselves. The one that's been most vocal has been Mishiro, the girl with the blonde princess hair with the drills. This is her 8th game, and she takes pride in her exceptional leadership skills. Then Miss Green Hair Librarian Kotoha speaks up. This is her 5th game, and she helps with her knowledge. And Mishiro interjects saying, hey, you should be more confident in your speaking stature because, you've been through this a lot. And that's like hard confirming their previous relationship that all of these girls have, been together. Then next up is the gal type brown hair Chie. This is her 4th game, and she's a jack of all trades, master of none. Pretty simple. And then lastly, the smallest one, the one with the white gray short hair, is Kaito. This is her 6th game, and she's good at quickly identifying the winners, whatever that means. So we have a pretty stacked team already, as everyone has a good bit of experience in these death games. Now, Mishiro immediately just says, all right, I assume that everyone's going to be fine with me being the leader because we've all played together and always been the leader, so we're good. And Yuki just raises her hand and says, hey, why should you be the leader? Mishiro just calmly stands up, walks over the window, and as she's talking, she goes, well, it's because I'm best fit for the role, and I'm trusted to do so. And hey, Yuki, nobody knows you, and all of us girls will feel more at ease with a familiar face leading us. And besides, I have doubts about you, Yuki. I'm guessing this really isn't your 10th game. Your movements are unpolished. You really don't have combat skills, do you? And Yuki's like, are you calling me a liar? And Michiro's like, no, I'm just saying that you should just speak about things that actually add up. Yuki can't really combat it, so she just shrinks back a little bit, relinquishes, just, okay, I accept you as the leader. And this is a far cry from the Yuki we used to know in the previous episode, because that's a late mid-game Yuki. She's already done 28. This is a 10th one. This is a Yuki coming off of a break. She's, a little rusty, and we have Mishiro, the one that's done 10 games, who's already know the other three girls. She's already got the rapport and the relationship. She can do whatever she wants. We can't really combat that. So Yuki just has to, play the supportive role. So afterwards, they get into the hall. They begin to explore, and they decide through rock, paper, scissors on who gets to lead, which happens to be Kaito. Kaito walks in front. They walk through the building. They go down some stairs, and Kaito stops at a hole at one of the junctures on the landing on the staircase. And inside the hole is a girl. It's the sixth player. Mishiro theorizes that the girl woke up before them and fell into the hole while wandering around, because at this point it's late at night. Kotaha points out that the girl was holding a flashlight, so that means that the girl was actually knowledgeable if the hole was actually there. So Yuki then says that the hole must be a pitfall that the girl fell in, and now we get the theme of this particular death game: landmines. Afterwards is a scene where they confirm that the girl is dead, and while the other four are doing their final checks on the sixth player, Yuki's actually going through the backpack of that girl, and she retrieves the sixth girl's paper scrap. I want to see this come into play soon, because this is we see this, but unfortunately there's nothing else to say or do for this, and they move on. But this time they use a rope to tie each other together for safety reasons. In a hallway, Yuki tells Kaito to stop and says, "Hey, this area is looking a little suspicious." And Yuki points out the camera that is very obviously in the top corner of the hallway on the route. It's out in the open. We can see it. And the other girls are like, "Okay, so what does that mean?" Well, it's intentional that they put the camera there to say, "Hey, here is a trap." And it's also possibly in a very good position for the audience of the death game to see, "Oh no, these girls are about to fall into a trap." We get to see it at a good angle. And so they debated a little bit longer, and Mishiro says, "All right, let's turn around and we'll try to find another route." On that other route, Yuki stops them again. But this time, there's no camera in the hallway. There's no obvious trap or trigger. And Yuki just says, "Hey, it's just a hunch. I can't really place it, but I have a bad feeling. Something should have happened at this point." And while that time, Mishiro is just walking up to Yuki, and she starts pressing her. It's like, "Hey, I am not emotionally prepared to accept you at this point. I'm done." That's pretty much Mishiro said. "I'm done." It's like, all right, you played us so far with your lies. You had a nice act with you trying to say, "Oh yeah, I can find these traps." You did good. You did good, but I'm done. And Yuki just trying to appeal and say, "Hey, you're well suited for playing the game." But Mishiro just says, "Hey, Kaito, go on ahead." And Kaito does. Nothing happens to her. And then Mishiro says, "Yuki, I'll be waiting for your apology. It's all water on the bridge if you do." And Yuki is like, "I'll think about it." And afterwards, we just get a little montage and monologue of Yuki, because after that, no more no more landmines triggered. It was smooth sailing for the girls. They were running out of batteries for the. It's a bad situation. Not a bad situation. It just kind of sucks for Yuki. Is that one time with the camera, she got it, but this time when nothing happened, she just lost all credibility in that one scenario. And of course, they're running out of batteries for the flashlight, and supplies won't last long for the entire game. And Mishiro, the party leader, decides to let's pick up the pace. And of course, nobody's gonna listen to Yuki anymore. Mishiro's in the driver's seat. Yuki's just a ghost. And at one point, Kotaha steps on a landmine. She's out in front. And these landmines are weight sensitive. So Kotaha just, takes off her backpack, puts it on the actual mine to exchange her weight for it. And she was good. Until her foot gets caught in the rope and the mine goes off. The smoke clears, And Kotoha looks unresponsive. You see all the white powder stuff. She's got no legs. She looks like she's done for. But Yuki notices that, oh, she's alive. But Mishiro says, oh, she's done for. And Kato says, are we abandoning her? Yuki says, no, we're not. No, she's alive. Can't you see? The preservation treatment shows that all that blood loss doesn't mean that she's dead. And look, her head isn't smashing. She looks okay. And Mishiro clarifies, says, hey, she's dead as a player. With these landmines, wounded soldiers decrease the whole unit's effectiveness. You having those compassionate thoughts will make us all die and lose everything. And Yuki, hearing all of that, she wasn't having it. She just said, she stayed silent for a moment, and she says, I'll go it alone. I'm gone. She walks off. And Mishiro calls out to Yuki and said, hey, leave your flashlight. And Yuki is just giving her like, are you serious? Look, are you serious? And Yuki's like, okay. Yuki leaves her flashlight, and both of them say that they're disappointed in each other. And Yuki has, her last breath that says, none of you girls understand this game at all. And the episode ends. Ooh. How does it feel to go to be into it's wild that Yuki had it easy in her 28th game because she was the only person with experience, so all of the girls had to follow her. It made sense. But now, since you're in a game with other people that have a lot of experience with the game, it's going to be difficult to claim the leader role. And even then, it's going to be even more difficult to be helpful if these other characters are bigoted. That's unfortunately what Mishiro is that, oh, I've been a leader so many times. I've been with these girls so many times, and I've led them all the way. And we've been alive after all these games. I should be the leader. You, new girl, you should be following me. Like, you kind of can't challenge that kind of ego. And even if things go bad underneath her leadership, if you aren't showing results, you kind of just don't matter. And that's what Yuki is experiencing. But unfortunately, Yuki isn't like in a league of her own. It's a demon. But of course, she can't really show it currently with her abilities because this is her 10th game. She hasn't built up enough, I guess, know-how with these death games to go through. That's cool. I want to point out one cool thing that has happened in this episode that didn't happen in the previous episode. Well, kind of. So in the previous episode, all 5 of the other girls said why they were there. Yuki didn't. Yuki kind of did at the end with Kinko, saying that she's like playing death games, not for the fun of it. But Yuki didn't give them her reason of why she's playing the death game when they all met each other. And in this one, all 5 girls did not tell each other why they were there. I can assume the other 4 didn't say it because they already knew each other and they probably played their first game with each other, so they know their motivations. But in this one, nobody knows each other's, in theory, nobody knows each other's like true motivations. So we're kind of going off of blind trust here. It's quite unfortunate that we've already lost 2 people. One we lost because of, I guess, RNG for that sake, and we lost the other because, well, I wouldn't say Yuki would have been able to save Kotoha, but it's quite unfortunate that Mishiro had to pick up the pace, and it's unfortunate that Kotoha had to be the sacrifice in order for them to at least continue on, or if anything else. But Yuki does have that trap sense, and that's a lost ability for the other girls, even though Mishiro just couldn't believe at the time. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens in the next episode for these girls. Also, last little observation is that during this episode, you'll see the number /33. I assume that's like the section / chapters that you would get in the light novel. And so we ended on 9 out of 33. So the next episode will be a continuation of the scrap building, and we'll see what's going on. And of course, in the Death House, we've been through all of those. So the Death House is completed. We know the entire story around that. But now we're waiting on the continuation of scrap building. If nothing else, why don't y'all comment down below? Tell me what y'all think about scrap building so far. Tell me what you think about Mishiro, the egoist leader. I still like her, unfortunately. She is my favorite out of the new 4 characters that we have, because I don't know, I do know she's my weakness. She's got the princess curls, she got the drills. I mean, it's kind of there. She had that assassin like move on Yuki in the beginning. That's cool. But you know, I like villainesses. I like the evil ones, and we'll see what goes on from there. If nothing else, I hope all of you have a good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. And I hope your day is just a little bit better than it already is. With that, we'll catch y'all in the next episode. Peace.